what you're doing today, is that what you thought you would be doing back when you were maybe in college or high school?
You know, not really. So I was a poli-sci econ major with an acting minor, and I was really determined and had come from a diplomatic background. So I was really thought I was going to kind of pursue the acting. And then all of a sudden I realized, you're too tall, you're too short, your eyes aren't green, you're this, that, and the other. I was like, I will not handle that well for my entire life. So I ended up kind of doing the behind the scenes I really enjoyed. So I got behind the scenes and realized that the combination of my upbringing, which was, very culturally diverse, living all over the world, and as the daughter of a diplomat, having entertaining was a big part of my life. And so it kind of all kind of just came together under the sort of, the events career. And but it started out in food. I was at Catering by Windows and doing catering, and as a director of operations there, I started to get more and more exposure. And then when I was 26, I kind of got to that fork in the road of, I could do this for the rest of my life, or I could start my own business, which is something that had always been in the back of my head. And I always say I had nothing to lose at that moment, although it took a tremendous leap of faith, and there was many, many days and nights of kind of crying and questioning, and had I done the right thing? And fast forward to 49, I'm so pleased I did.
Yeah. What is a time in your life, speaking of the fork in the road, is that the time when you face this fork and you had to go one direction or the other, and how did you make the choice of what to do?
So that really was one. I mean, I've had many forks in the road, but that was probably one of my biggest. And, it was not only did I make the choice, but it took a lot of time to make that choice. I mean, I had to kind of weigh everything from the financial to kind of the personal stress I knew I was going to undertake. And, I didn't have a business degree. I was much more entrepreneur and visionary than I was actual, kind of business process oriented. And so I really had to think about it. And, but I decided, yes, this is what I wanted to do. And I went home and I told my family, I was like, listen, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start my own company. They're like, you're bananas, but okay. And, I didn't have a ton of money saved up at that point. I was relatively young. I was just on the cusp of 26. But I did it, and I asked my parents for a little bit of help, and it came in the way of kind of converting my studio into both a living space, which was teeny tiny, and I took out my closet and put in a piece of wood from T.W. Perry's at the time. My dad helped me, and I leased a computer because I didn't have the money to buy, and got a little dial-up and kind of sat there and told people that I was doing it. The company I was with, though, was very good to me and actually hired me back as a consultant. So I could make a little bit of money doing that, as well as kind of put my shingle out and get out there. But for the first 3 months, I actually had a partner, and then that dissolved very quickly. And I had to readdress whether I was making the right decision. So I was challenged right up front with that fork in the road again. And I decided to, after about 2 months, decided to go ahead and continue to pursue it. So I put out my second shingle in the course of basically 4 months. And here we are today.
Did you give yourself a deadline? Like, if I don't have it together in 6 months, I'm going back to it?
I did. I wallowed for about a month and then was like, okay, I've got 30 days to restart or go back, because I could go back at that point. And I gave myself those 30 days, and in those 30 days did a lot of things. I met with a lawyer to get reincorporated and see if I could recover any of my losses in the first 3 months of my original venture. Kind of refocus my energy on what I wanted out of the business and how I was going to pursue, because at the time it felt, I had a partner, so it was a little like, I had a friend in there, and now it was all on me. So I had to kind of readjust my own expectations to get it started. But once I had done that, and I talked to a few people about it, found some mentors to ask questions to about how they started their business, which was tremendously helpful. And I tell you, I recommend that to everybody. I didn't take advantage of that enough in my career. So now I'm immersed in mentorship and getting mentored still. So it's been a tremendous help. So that's how I started again.
Speaking of mentoring or mentorship, what is the best advice that you have ever been given for your business?
I think one, and it's actually been more recent in the business, but really one of the best pieces of advice that I would give myself again and again, and I often use it as my own mantra, is stay the course. And I say that because, I'm also a personality type that gets quite impatient. And, I want that result right away. I want it. I can see it. I can feel it. I can taste it. And I want it. And it takes time. And you got to make some mistakes along the way. And you got to remind yourself of what you're connected to in terms of that bigger vision in order to stay the course. And that's for me personally as well as professionally. So to me, that advice was sort of all encompassing in terms of, be patient. It'll come.
How do you stay motivated?
So I do lots of things to stay motivated, and I didn't realize how important it was, not only for people, but for me in particular. So I do a couple things. One is I try and attend quite a few conferences a year, everything from the Tony Robbins, anything in that self kind of improvement space. And so I do a lot in that world. And part of why I do that is to be surrounded by people who are going for it, who are really progressive in their thinking, who understand positive psychology, and it just really fills my tank. I think the other thing I do a lot of is make sure that I'm always reading. I always have multiple streams and books going, always in the self-improvement space, but also in the science and neurology space, because I'm so fascinated about how much capacity we actually have but don't tap into. I'm determined to tap into more. And then always something sort of topical too, because I think, you want as many inputs as you can in your life to kind of keep yourself up and going. And then I spend a lot of time with my family. I have 2 little kids. I have a wonderful partner, and so that really does a lot for me as well. And so I make sure I'm very diligent about carving out time for us to spend. And then, I have a really great family and friend group too that, I can rely on to keep me motivated.
What is some piece of advice, or what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to create the biggest vision possible for themselves and keep it close. Literally, look at it every day. It's okay that it's going to change. It's okay that it's going to evolve, but keep it in your hand on a daily basis, because I think with that, you will achieve your goals and just manifest that future in a much, you will manifest that future for sure, and then also you'll just be so connected to it that you'll just lead a better life on a daily basis. But be patient and let it evolve. It's okay that it's going to evolve, and do it with intention, but really keep it close.